All right, let's jump right in. The source material for this one asks a pretty unsettling question. What if we're all walking into a perfect storm, and we just don't see it?
I mean, that's a chilling thought, right? If all the warning signs of a major crisis are right there in front of us, why the collective blind spot? What is it about the way our brains are wired that just limits our ability to truly face these huge, unimaginable risks?
Well, the source we're looking at today argues that this isn't just an accident. It's not that we're not paying attention. It's that we can't. It stems from three very specific, very human cognitive biases, a condition it calls futures blindness.
So think of this like a mystery. And to solve it, we're going to follow three clues. Each one gives us a piece of the puzzle, a different reason why we might be completely misreading the clouds gathering on the horizon.
Okay, let's dive into our first clue. And it's rooted in something you'd think would be a strength, our own amazing history as a species. It's this powerful bias that makes us think, hey, we've always made it through, so we'll always make it through.
What's really interesting here is that this is just a tiny fraction of the disasters humanity has somehow managed to survive. I mean, think about it. Supervolcanoes that almost wiped us out, pandemics, world wars. We have faced down threats that should have ended us, time and time again. It's a pretty incredible track record, right?
But here's where it gets tricky. The source says we look at that incredible track record and fall into a dangerous trap of complacency. We start to think our survival isn't just about being resilient or lucky. We think it's proof that we're somehow special, that we're destined to make it. It's this idea that past performance guarantees future success, and that can be a fatal mistake.
And this brings us to our second clue, which really builds on that first one. It's this belief that feels so natural and comforting, the idea that everything just moves in cycles.
I mean, we are hardwired to see patterns, aren't we? We see the seasons change. Spring always follows winter. We see the tides come in and go out. And we instinctively take that same comforting rhythm and apply it to human history. It's a really soothing thought, you know? No matter how bad things get, an upturn is just around the corner. It's inevitable.
And get this, we've even created these grand theories to formalize this belief. One of the most famous is the saculum cycle, which basically says that societies move through four distinct turnings or generations. You have a high, then an awakening, an unraveling, and then a crisis. And that crisis tears down the old order so you can start fresh. When you believe in a system like that, it makes it really easy to dismiss a gathering storm as just, another turn of the wheel.
And this takes us to our final and maybe the most powerful clue of all. The reason we don't see the storm on the horizon? We're just too busy looking down at our feet, completely swamped by what's happening right here, right now.
The source makes this really fascinating comparison. Think about ancient Greek theater. Its whole purpose was to hold up a mirror to society, to make people think, to educate them about their civic duties. Now compare that to what the source calls our modern bread and circuses. So much of our entertainment, it argues, isn't designed for reflection. It's designed for pacification. It's a veil, a mass distraction.
And man, are the distractions relentless. For starters, we're hooked. We're caught in these endless cycles of media addiction, just scrolling and reacting, constantly engaged, but not really informed.
And this is just fueled by the nonstop churn of political scandals and controversies. It keeps our collective attention jumping from one short-term outrage to the next. You add it all up, and we are just buried under an avalanche of information. It's so much noise that the ability to just stop, think deeply, and reflect, it feels almost impossible. And then there's the big one. All of this is happening while people are dealing with just immense economic anxiety. Honestly, when you're worried about paying the bills and keeping food on the table, you don't have a lot of mental bandwidth left over to think about huge, long-term existential threats.
Okay, so let's recap. We've got our three clues. Our overconfidence from surviving the past, our soothing belief that everything goes in cycles, and the overwhelming, deafening noise of the present. So what on earth could possibly be loud enough to cut through all of that?
So let's put it all together. This is what the source calls futures blindness. It's this condition where these three biases all converge, and they basically leave us unable to see, let alone act on, the biggest challenges ahead. And the source argues this exact condition is making us miss the most urgent threat of all.
So what is that ultimate wake-up call? According to the source, it's the one thing that we absolutely cannot ignore. It's not abstract, it's not ideological, it is purely biological. It's water.
the one vanishing resource whose absence means death in a matter of days. That is a signal you just can't argue with. And that signal? It is already flashing bright red. Right now, as we speak, 2.2 billion people, that's more than a quarter of the entire planet, lack access to safely managed drinking water. Just let that number sink in for a second. 2.2 billion.
And look, this isn't some science fiction movie, some far-off dystopia. This slide shows you the real-world geopolitical hotspots, where tensions over water are already boiling over, right now. From the Nile River to the Colorado, the Indus to the Mekong, the water wars aren't coming. They're already here.
So what do? The source material doesn't give us any easy answers. Instead, it leaves us in this strange moment. It's like that quiet pause, as the poet said, between the lightning and the thunder. That's where we are now. We've seen the flash of the problem, but we haven't yet heard its deafening roar.
You know, decades ago, Bob Dylan sang these words, warning people to admit that the waters around you have grown. The source we're looking at suggests this isn't just a metaphor anymore. The waters are literally growing in some places, while becoming terrifyingly scarce in others.
And that leaves us with the final and maybe the most critical question of all. If our future's blindness keeps us from preparing, if we wait until the storm finally hits, it's no longer a question of if we need to act, but how. When we're all forced into the water, when we all have to start swimming, where do we swim to together?